Hey guys, let's talk about the benefits and the, what would you call it, negatives of round bonds versus flat bonds. For years and years I did round bonds, love them, still love round bonds. You know, I am not too fond of hairdressers that like hate cap highlights. Ooh, did I just offend somebody? Because to me, I feel like everything has a time and a place. And so, although I do probably 99% flat bonds when I do extensions, there's still a place for round bonds. But in the world of extensions, everybody seems to still be doing round bonds, or they've abandoned keratin bonds altogether and gone to I-tips or other things. So let me talk about a couple of the points I like. So over here on the wall, I just wrote some really quick pluses and minuses. That's my quick positive and negative chart for round bond versus flat bond. So in a round bond, it's, you know what? I'm gonna just show you with a few drawings first and then we'll go. So if on a head here, you've got a little curve here, and you take a little grouping of hair, you've got to pull it into a bit of a miniature ponytail when you roll it into a round bond. And of course that hair wants to be this wide, so that hair flares back out to this width, and so you end up with a bunch of little ponytails on the head for a round bond, and they flare out. Now yes, on most of the head you've got the hair hanging down in between, blending everything together, but truly you've got a wide section going to a skinny section, going back to a wide, and you can see how they overlap here, right? So there's some inconsistency down here compared to a flat bond. If I take hair like this, pull it straight down, put that keratin bond in this area, heat it up, and it spreads out like this, and I take it and fold it in here, and this disappears. The hair above in the keratin bond and below it stays wide and natural, falling, flowing, whatever you want to call it. And then I'll put another bond right next to it, same thing. So do you see how it's kind of across any space on here? This section is going to be more free-flowing and natural altogether, just in hair. That's the first reason I like a flat bond. But then from the side, this flat bond is flat. So I mean, it fits right up against a person's head. So if somebody touches your head or feels your head, you don't feel those flat bonds as much. But as I go to the chart here, a round bond, fast and easy, because we've been doing it forever, right? So the world educator told me, doing flat bonds at these hair shows, and so I said, okay, I did it for one hair show 1 year, went back to the salon, did one client, I thought this is too slow, it's taking too much time, I need to get back to time is money, and so I went back to my round bonds. Next year at the hair show, I was forced to do flat bonds again, and fell in love with them, and from then on, I got just as fast, maybe a tiny bit slower, but almost as fast with a flat bond as a round bond. But the benefits were so many, why not do it all the time? They should stay in just as well. It's the same keratin holding that bond in. There should be no difference in how long it stays in if you do a good job. The problem is, it's new. It's new for most of us. If you've been doing a round bond forever, it's gonna take a few sacrificial clients. God, I hate to use that word, but basically you got to sacrifice a few heads. If you're diligent enough and you sacrifice a few mannequins, well, better, but then you've got to sacrifice the cost of hair. So anything worth doing is worth the cost or the time or the effort to get there. And I didn't want to do it either. I mean, I felt the pain of getting those flat bonds out there. And so I see the comments I'm getting about which one I like better, which one is better. There's not necessarily any better, but let me refer to this chart, see if I can remember everything. So yes, round bonds are fast and easy. They are the shape of the hair. So here's one of the things that I might want to cover is, as you get higher on the head, a round bond is the shape of hair. It's round. So something that's round, even like this, less light is going to glare off of it. The flat bond is like a big mirror. So I do fold it, put my thumbprint in it when I squeeze it flat on purpose to give it more of a matte finish, a little texture, so it doesn't glisten the light as much, but it does. It's a flat surface. So if the client doesn't have enough hair covering over that bond, yes, you're gonna see a little bit of glare off of it and a lot less glare off of a round surface. So there's that to talk about. So when you get higher on the head and you have less hair or a thin-haired client, then round bonds that are smaller, like halves and thirds and You can get a little more customized around the bangs, around the hairline. So why not use them both on a full head? If you've got a thick-haired, full-haired client, lots of hair, then maybe you can do all flat bonds and get away with it, all whole big giant bonds and get away with it. But if you got somebody that's a little thinner around the top, around the front, and you've got to mix the two, you can. Top row can be round bonds, around the face can be round bonds and smaller, but overall round on top of round on top of round builds bulk on the head. So you end up with a little thicker look all over. That sounds good for a minute, doesn't it? Because most girls want thicker hair. They don't want thicker heads, they want thicker hair. And so you've got to kind of balance that out. Now, with that said, you take a client that's been getting round bonds for years, which I've done, switch them to flat bonds, they do feel like they have less hair, even if you have the same amount on their head. So you do have to be careful with people's, their brains more than just their look, because their experience might be like, oh God, I felt like I had more hair before. Right, round bonds do build a thickness, an artificial thickness on the head that can sometimes feel like more hair also, even though it's not. And a flat bond, spreading that hair out, sometimes can use less hair bonds on the head to get a thicker look because it's spreading the hair sideways. So you've got a lot of things to balance here, but that comes with a lot of experience. And I just wanted to kind of go over these, make sure I didn't forget any. So hair shape, round bonds are just more common. More people are going to be doing round bonds, so switching is going to be difficult. The clients are going to question it, but that could set you apart, right? Some of the tools that are made for round bonds, they have that top tool and that bottom tool, and they're pushing the bonds together, and some are flat here, but some have a little bit of a divot right in this area, and some have a bump here. So when they heat the bond up, it purposely curves it a little, and it lends to rolling it faster and easier. I know the She-Hair tool that I use is flat on both sides, and many other hot tools are. So when it heats it, it just spreads, and it's easy to fold it or roll it, but it makes it easier to fold it if you need to. So with the round bond, small ponytails like I talked about over here, not natural fall. Technically, you're pulling hair from here into the round bond that wanted to hang straight, right? So it's almost like when a girl takes her hair out of a ponytail and they're like, oh, that feels good. Because that hair was pulled in a direction it didn't really want to be in for a little while. So round bonds are gonna cause a tiny bit more stress on the hair. It's minimal, I get it, but it's there compared to a flat bond. So we've got all around covered. Let's cover flat for a minute. It's flat, we talked about that. It's not bulky, so it doesn't add fullness. That could be good or bad. I have it on the good side there. It spreads better like we covered here. It feels more comfortable to the client and the friends touching their hair. And then on the negative side, it can be a little slower because it takes a little more effort to do a flat bond. It's newer to learn, so it takes a little time to get it down, but once you've got it, it's there. You can't put it in thin hair, and that is the one problem. You cannot put a flat bond in thin hair up high because it shows. But overall, they're both great to use on heads. If you've never used one or the other, you should. You can charge a little more money for flat bonds because it's a little more specialty and a lot less people do it. Kind of like those foil highlights, as I was kind of loosely referencing to, compared to cap highlights. Don't you charge more for a foil? Takes a little more time, a little more precise, a little more customized. Same thing with a flat bond. So good luck, guys. Try flat bonds if you've never done it.